Hello there, I'm Heidi Adams in for Esther Gitui-Hewitt. Welcome to Africa 54. Here is what's coming up. Israel fires 2 officers and reprimands 3 others for their roles in the drone strikes that killed the World Central Kitchen aid workers. Israeli military officials say the officers mishandled critical information and violated the Army's rules of engagement. The Midwestern U.S. state of Wisconsin could decide the 2024 race for the White House. Both the Biden and Trump campaigns are trying to woo black voters in the state. And Heather Maxwell goes one-on-one with the talented and exciting Kenyan singer-songwriter Olivia Ambani. These stories and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. And we begin in the Middle East, where the Israeli military says it has fired 2 officers and reprimanded 3 others for their roles in the drone strikes that killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers in Gaza. The military says the officers mishandled critical information and violated the Army's rules of engagement. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office also plans to reopen the area's border crossing between Israel and North Gaza. Meanwhile, Netanyahu says he will shut down the Qatar-based Al Jazeera news network's operations in Israel under a new law that allows the closure of foreign networks deemed a national security threat. Linda Gradstein has more for us from Jerusalem.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wrote on X he intends to act immediately in accordance with the new law to close what he called the terrorist channel Al Jazeera in Israel. He said Al Jazeera acted against Israeli security, actively participated in the October 7th Hamas massacre, and incited violence against Israeli soldiers. Israel's parliament, the Knesset, passed the law with a 71-10 vote.
I announced that the bill to prevent foreign broadcasters from harming the state security, an interim order during the Operation Iron Swords until 2024, was accepted in the second and third readings and will be entered into the law book.
Al Jazeera condemned Netanyahu's incitement claim as a dangerous, ludicrous lie, and the network said it holds Netanyahu responsible for the safety of its staff and offices. The network, which has more than 430 million viewers worldwide, said it would continue what it described as its bold and professional coverage. Israeli media analysts say they believe the new law is justified.
People around the world don't realize that Al Jazeera is state media of Qatar, and that it promotes a very hostile agenda to Israel. There have been many incorrect reports throughout the war, and they wanted to prevent further harm.
But Hoffman adds the ban's impact may be more symbolic for the Netanyahu government, which is facing vehement protests from both outside and inside Israel.
It has a 45-day limit, and while it can be renewed, it's only supposed to be used during war. And Israelis hope that the war will end soon. I expect this to be something that will be used once with great fanfare. Al Jazeera will continue to broadcast from here.
The U.S. administration weighed in.
A move like this is concerning. We believe in the freedom of the press. It is critical. It is critically important, and the United States supports the critically important work journalists around the world do. And that includes those who are reporting in the conflict in Gaza.
The new law comes as Qatar is trying to broker a deal for the release of dozens of Israeli hostages in exchange for a temporary ceasefire. Some analysts said the new law could complicate those efforts. Linda Gradstein, VOA News, Jerusalem.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is proposing a $108 billion 5-year fund to support Ukraine's military as the alliance marked the 75th anniversary of its founding. Henry Ridgewell reports.
NATO foreign ministers marked the 75th anniversary of the alliance's foundation Thursday, but the birthday celebrations were muted. Despite NATO support for Ukraine, Russia continues to make battlefield gains and continues to rain down missiles and drones on Ukraine's cities. 4 people were killed and dozens injured in this attack on the eastern city of Kharkiv. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg gave a sobering assessment as the alliance meeting closed Thursday.
The situation on the battlefield remains serious. Ukraine needs more air defenses, more ammunition, and more aid. And therefore, allies will now go back and look into their inventories, look into if there are any ways they can provide more systems, in particular Patriots.
Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba appealed to NATO allies to give that aid and made a specific request for American-made Patriot air defense missiles.
Saving Ukrainian lives, saving Ukrainian economy, saving Ukrainian cities depends on the availability of Patriots and other air defense systems in Ukraine. And we're talking about Patriots because it's the only system that can intercept ballistic missiles. And only in March, Ukraine was hit with 94 ballistic missiles.
The US Congress is still blocking a military aid package for Ukraine worth around $60 billion. Speaking in Brussels Thursday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged lawmakers to vote for the bill.
We know what the needs are. Air defenses, artillery, munitions. So I believe, based on what I heard today, that everyone, including the United States, is going to double back and, as necessary, double down on finding the resources that Ukraine continues to need.
Ukraine's air defences are not sufficient, says analyst Liana Fix.
They only cover certain important strategic infrastructure for Ukraine and, of course, the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. And we've seen that in recent weeks, Russia has stepped up its campaign, especially on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. And that is where Ukraine needs additional protection, where it needs those Patriots.
NATO's Secretary-General has proposed a $107 billion 5-year NATO fund to provide military support for Ukraine and hopes to reach agreement at July's annual NATO summit in Washington. But there was no concrete agreement at this week's meeting in Brussels.
Europeans, both, in terms of financial support and military support, just can't make up for the huge amounts of military support that was coming from the United States.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin said Thursday that relations between NATO and Russia had, in its words, reached the level of direct confrontation. Henry Ridgwell, VOA News.
Turning to U.S. politics now, Democratic U.S. President Joe Biden and Republican challenger Donald Trump this week won their party's presidential primaries in the Midwestern state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a swing state that could decide the 2024 race. As VOA correspondent Scott Stearns reports, both campaigns are working to win the support of black voters in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin voters chose Donald Trump in 2016, but Joe Biden 4 years later, and it was close both times. So Wisconsin could go either way in this election, with a nearly evenly divided electorate splitting most public opinion polls. In a close race, both sides are trying to gain ground with new voters. For Republicans, that means trying to cut into Democrats' historic advantage with black voters. Orlando Owens is the Republican Party's first African-American chair in Milwaukee County.
Who is supporting your kids' education right now? Who's supporting black businesses right now? Who's supporting the idea of having a secure border right now? Who's supporting the idea of your gun rights right now, that you can defend yourself?
4 years ago, Biden won Wisconsin by fewer than 21,000 votes, but carried Milwaukee by more than 145,000 votes. Analysis by Marquette University says 53% of those winning ballots for Biden came from majority black wards.
Milwaukee doesn't have to turn Republican. We just need to have an uptick. That's why it's so important. If we can get just a small bump here in the city, a small bump in the county, we win the state. We win the state, we win the country.
Trump told supporters that his multiple criminal indictments have helped him with black voters.
And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing.
Biden can't afford to lose the black vote in Wisconsin, and his campaign knows it, says political science professor Kathy Cohen.
Most individuals who follow the elections would say that without Milwaukee, Biden easily loses Wisconsin. I think the Biden campaign understands that. I think we will see a deep investment in ads and get out the vote and messaging and visits.
Biden was in Wisconsin last month, announcing new funding to help right what he called historic wrongs.
For generations, Black, Brown, and Native American, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians communities weren't fully included in our democracy or our economy.
For Milwaukee, Biden says that means new sidewalks and bike lanes, along with bus lanes and modern infrastructure.
These are life-changing improvements. They're also going to make it easier for historic black communities in the North and Latino communities in the South to access jobs, school, and entertainment. Opportunities in the city and central hub.
Wisconsin barber Antonio Perkins says he's still making up his mind.
I mean, I am undecided. It's funny, I voted for Biden to get Trump out of office last election, and now I'm swaying more to Trump because of the things that we thought it was going to be better, and it just actually got worse. So, yeah, I'm definitely don't know which way to sway at this point.
That uncertainty among traditionally Democratic voters makes Wisconsin's already close race a focus for both campaigns through Election Day. Scott Stearns, VOA News.
Botswana's Minister of Environment and Tourism, Dumezweni Mtimkulu, spoke with VOA's Peter Clotty about his address to the British Parliament regarding the anti-trophy hunting bill. The minister criticises the hypocrisy of the bill and highlights the importance of trophy hunting funding for rural communities.
It was very simple. We don't need the trophy hunting bill. We don't need it. Botswana does not need it. Countries in the SADC region that border Botswana, that is Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, we don't need it. When you talk of conservation of wildlife, we are a success story for the whole world to see. So Botswana has the largest number of wild elephants in the world. In 1984, you won't believe it, there were 50,000. But then the government took deliberate steps to ensure that these animals don't become endangered species or become extinct. At the time, we were advised that we should keep the number at 50,000 elephants by these international organizations, the scientists and stuff. But because of our efforts, the numbers have more than tripled. We have 133,000 elephants. We also have, I think, the third largest number of lions in the world. We also have the second or third again number of buffaloes in the world. So if you look across all species that the bill want to make a subject of the ban, we have done very well in respect to.
Minister Ntumkulu, I understand that Botswana depends, one of its major GDP contributors is tourism. Will this anti-trophy bill at the British Parliament undercut such source of income or revenue for your government? Is that the reason why your government is against it?
No, not necessarily. What we are concerned about is our communities living in those areas. You know, every year, the government issues a quota of 400 elephants. And these elephants are given to community trust. It is them who derive income from this hunting ban because they live amongst these animals. And not necessarily the government. The government does not, of course, when somebody comes into Botswana, he will buy from a shop, he will rent, he book an hotel, he use local transport, at the end of the day he pay taxes and stuff. But our main concern, it is the communities that live with these animals. And I said, see, our numbers of elephants are going up every year. I'm told by the scientists that the birth rate of elephants per year is about 5% of their total population. So that means if there are 133,000, it means that we are having close to 7,000 newborn elephants every year.
And that was Dumezweni Mtimkulu, Botswana's Minister of Environment and Tourism. South Sudan's economy is facing hyperinflation, leading to the devaluation of the local currency. Soaring prices has more than 11 million people now on the brink of hunger. Sheila Poni has the details.
James Nyang tends to his farm on a sunny evening here in Awil County in northern Bahr el Ghazal state. This small plot earned enough that James, a student at Manuel Akon Primary School, could buy his school uniform.
I want to support my family also. If they have nothing, I can help them. If I have nothing also that I need, like the uniform that I want, I buy from the money I get from this garden.
At the end of classes each day, James hurries off to his garden, a plot of about 6 meters by 9 meters. The farm is protected by a fence made of locally available materials like maize stalks. To James, this is more than just a farm. It holds the future of his entire family and represents hope for the nation. According to the latest Integrated Food Security Phase Clarification Report, IPC, over half of South Sudanese are estimated to be at risk of starvation because of 2 decades of conflict, drought, and floods.
Flood affected our lands. When flood comes, it comes flowing to our crops that we have planted.
Dr. Abraham Mamer is an advisor in the South Sudan government's economic cluster. He says inflation is out of control.
Within less than 12 months, we have gone nearly 200%. And this is not good. Who will afford?
In local markets, citizens have put up with higher prices because of the devaluation of the South Sudanese pound's SSP against the USD.
The reason why we're importing this is simple. We have cash. You know, this oil has made us to be cash dependent, not production dependent. And then now it made us not to think of agriculture.
Now most of the food consumed in South Sudan comes from neighboring countries such as Uganda, Kenya, and Sudan. This dependency on imports puts a lot of pressure on the local currency, he says. Abraham thinks the solution to stabilizing the SSP lies in the South Sudanese people, like producing their own food.
And we believe that this cultivation will change the economic situation of South Sudan. We are asking for more support and advice from our partners so that we increase our cultivation in order to change the economic situation of South Sudan.
Last year alone, World Food Programme purchased more than 35 metric tons of food produced by local farmers like Haron. The food goes to school feeding programs that benefit over 40,000 children in primary schools across South Sudan. Solomon Tilahun leads the WFP in Awil, northern Bahr el Ghazal state of South Sudan.
We have adopted, and it's a framework kind of connecting farmers, local traders, as well as the school. This is a framework of like catalyzing the local economy and giving them, the schools, an opportunity to have a variety of food.
Abraham thinks if more South Sudanese take up farming seriously, the world's youngest nation could reduce the destructive inflation and help strengthen the weakening pound. For VOA, I am Sheila Poni, South Sudan.
Well, still to come here on Africa 54, our entertainment report features a talented Kenyan singer-songwriter. Stay with us. We'll have more for you after the break.
According to World Economic Forum, an estimated 100 million people in Africa suffer from clinical depression, and 66 million of them are women. On this week's edition of Our Voices, we'll seek to understand more about depression, which has been described as the most prevalent mental illness in the world. We'll also speak with experts on how depression is treated. Join the conversation each week, right here on Our Voices.
Season 4, rocking with the best. Rocking with the best. Season 4, rocking with the best.
Let's turn to other news now. French President Emmanuel Macron believes his country and its Western and African allies could have stopped Rwanda's 1994 genocide, but did not have the will to halt the slaughter of an estimated 800,000 people, most of them ethnic Tutsis. Macron, in a video message to be published on Sunday to mark the 30th anniversary of the genocide, will emphasize that, quote, when the phase of total extermination against the Tutsis began, the international community had the means to know and act. That's according to a French presidential official. And Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio says drug abuse in his country is, quote, a national emergency. The president has outlined plans to combat Kush, a synthetic drug popular with young people. Kush has been prevalent in the country for several years. And here in the United States, the 2024 New York International Auto Show is underway in Manhattan through April 7th. Visitors will have a chance to admire some of the coolest new car technology. Evgeny Maslov has the story, narrated by Anna Rice.
Over 100 participants with more than 700 vehicles have gathered this spring at the annual New York Auto Show. This year, hybrid and electric vehicles are taking center stage.
Out of our 29 vehicles in the lineup, 19 of them are electrified, meaning a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, full electric, or a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle.
Subaru has our Solterra here. It is currently our electric vehicle that it did just get some new changes for 2024, so that's exciting. Subaru is showing off our all-new 2025 Subaru Forester, which is in its 6th generation, completely redesigned for this year. It'll come out later this year.
There are also some brand new models like Nissan Kicks.
Redesigned from the ground up, now has all-wheel drive, a lot of technology, a sunroof available. So it's got a great balance of power efficiency. It's typically an EV, a very EV market, right?
And some rebooted throwbacks, like an electric version of the Volkswagen minibus and the 1949 Volkswagen Beetle.
This is our 75th year of Volkswagen, and it is the 75th anniversary of the Beetle first coming to the United States. So we've got a lot to celebrate, and I wanted to highlight the fact that the ID bus is new for the United States market this year. It's an all-electric bus. It's there on the back platform, and we're going to be having that come out later this year.
This year, the lower floor of Javits Center is also a test track, and not surprisingly, it draws crowds. Concept cars are in the spotlight. This year, Genesis showcases its vision of luxe electric cars of the future. There are also futuristic-looking Rolls-Royces, Lamborghinis, and the Kia EV9, which holds the titles of both the 2024 World Car of the Year and the 2024 World Electric Vehicle. For Evgeny Maslov in New York, Anna Rice, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for our entertainment report, and joining us now is Heather Maxwell. She's the host of VOA's Music Time in Africa radio program. And Heather has the latest news on a talented Kenyan singer and songwriter. Hello there, Heather.
Hello, Haiti. Hello, everyone. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be an independent artist? Well, earlier this week, I caught up with Olivia Ambani to spotlight just that. Here she is singing Spirit, a brand new song she performed in a live acoustic concert right after our conversation.
What
has your journey been like so far as a professional independent artist?
Yeah, so I mean, music's always been one of my passions, but I think like in 2013 is when I really said I'm gonna focus and make it a full-time career as an independent artist. Started jamming with friends and then do part-time jobs and some full-time jobs so that I could fund my album, and released that in 2020. And from then, I guess I've started to get a lot of opportunities to collaborate in specifically the electro house music scene. But yeah, my focus now is touring or just traveling to perform, as well as working on my second album, because it's been almost 5 years or 4 years since I released my album. So I'd really, really love to do that.
Are you working on a new album now?
Yeah, I have tons of songs. I feel like I almost have too many. So I'm trying to cut down, and see which songs I want to keep. But I'm actually testing out one new song that I want to be in the album today during the show. So it'll be quite exciting to see the reception. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be doing my second album soon.
Is your album theme-based?
For me, when it comes to my music, I feel like I speak first from my own personal experience. A lot of my writing is freestyling, so it depends on what I'm going through at that point in time, like if I'm happy, if I'm sad. But I also always try, whether it's a sad song or like something difficult, I always try add hope in whatever I'm doing in some essence. It may not be in the words, but it may be in the way I sing it or in the energy I put in what I'm doing. So for me, it's mainly hope, but yeah, it changes.
Well, tell me about the visual side of your music. Do you have music videos out?
Yes, so end last year I did release one called Dreams of My Guku, which was another collaboration I did with another South African producer called SP Fire. And it's a super special song to me because Guku means grandmother in Maragoli, and I'm a Maragoli. And so it was a song that pays homage to my grandmother, our grandmothers, and our ancestors, and just the blessings they've given us.
Thanking Guku, my grandmother, up in heaven, for the blessing of today.
It was really special because, especially as an independent artist, getting the funds together, getting people together to shoot a music video, there's a lot that goes into it. So it was really great to finally have it out. And so it's available on my YouTube channel and people can enjoy that. I love the storyline. I love telling stories in my music videos. So there's that. And then there's one called Better Than Just Fine. So that was my very, very first music video. And that's out. It's not on my channel, but it's saved on my channel. So if you literally look for Olivia Ambani, you'll find that. Then there's a short clip of my latest release, Spirit. It's a collaboration between me and an amazing producer from South Africa called Silva. And yeah, it's a really great song. Not yet shot a music video for that, but that's definitely in the works.
Olivia, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you too.
And that is it for entertainment this week. Haiti, back to you.
Thank you so much, Heather. Be sure to join Heather Maxwell's Entertainment Reports every Friday right here on Africa 54. And that is where we will leave the show today. Time for me to say goodbye. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, take good care. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.